بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Good evening and thank you all for attending this important panel discussion, Shared Voices, Literature and Art as a Bridges for Cultural Understanding. We're here to explore how literature play a role in connecting people from different cultures and backgrounds. I'm honored to welcome our distinguished panelists today, Ambassador of Pakistan to the Netherlands, His Excellency Soljak Mestensar. And the second guest we have is Ambassador of Pakistan to Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, His Excellency Ambassador Ahmed Farouk. And the last guest we have is a former Managing Director of Oxford University Press, Mrs. Amina Saeed. Thank you all for attending, and I will start with you, Mr. Soljak. When it comes to the role of literature and arts in promoting shared values, how did you see this from your experience? The role of art and literature and shared values is between people, how did you see this?
So, first of all, thank you very much, Yazid. I'm really honored to be here. Thank you for the host, Riyadh International Book Fair, for the invitation. I think your first question actually is related to this book fair. When I came here and some of your colleagues showed me around in terms of phases of the Saudi civilization or culture, that is a way to link people. I think in many ways, literature and art is something that binds us as humanity. For example, when you read a book, especially from any other country, it's like a mirror to that society and culture, and it provides you a much better understanding than any other way. Similarly, as a piece of art also has different meanings for everybody, but a beautiful work of art brings everybody together. It depends what meaning you want to draw, but ultimately it is a way that unifies everybody.
Great. So moving forward to Ambassador Ahmed Farouk, I want to ask about the cultural diplomacy. How do you see the importance as cultural diplomacy is, and how you work with this between Saudi Arabia and Pakistan?
Thank you very much, Yazid. I think you've touched upon a very important question. As my colleague also mentioned, culture is something that connects people because it relates to people. So the role of cultural diplomacy becomes very important because we are the ones who, do activities that give exposure of one country's culture to another. In the context of Saudi Arabia, what I personally think is that both countries have always been very, very close to each other. Our people have traveled to, Saudi people have traveled to Pakistan. Historically, a large number of Pakistanis have come and worked in the kingdom. But at the same time, the understanding of culture needs to be further improved, and I am talking more about now of the younger generation. The senior generations of Saudis knew more of Pakistan than the youth, because the youth is more exposed towards the West. And it is the same situation in Pakistan, where many people are unaware of the transformational changes which have happened in the kingdom over the last 7-8 years. So we need to bridge this gap through cultural diplomacy so that the young people who are the future of all nations, they are able to understand each other, and that actually helps us in bringing the two countries together.
When we look to the past, we can see many people go to Pakistan and they have their own connection. But now, with younger generation, we cannot see that very obvious. Why do you think that is happening?
I think we need to do a better job in sort of explaining ourselves, in sort of showing what each country actually has to offer. So that is actually a key focus of the work that we are trying to do here, to bring Pakistani culture to the kingdom so that the younger people, they know more about Pakistan, and that gives them, the sense of curiosity that they need to go there for tourism. There is history, culture, art, everything that you can think of is available in Pakistan. So this is actually the work that we as diplomats need to do, and to bring people together.
And your attending is one of the activity that you use, so thank you for that. Going to you, Mrs. Amina, I want to take the same angle with the role of the literature and art, but when it comes to the empowering women and promoting their rights. So you have been working a lot with the festival in Pakistan with empowering women. How do you use the literature and art for this?
Thank you, Mr. Yazid. Actually, I've long felt that literature and art are, they are a very powerful tool in promoting, because they cross cultural boundaries, and they are used for expressing identity, and also for sharing human values. And I have long felt in Pakistan that the Pakistani culture is so rich and so old and so varied, because, across different provinces where there are different languages spoken, different ethnicities, different cultures. And since I started the literature festivals in 2010, since then I've had about almost 100 festivals across Pakistan. It's become a kind of a movement. Now these festivals are held in every town and city across the country, which was my motive, my aim. And I felt that in a way it has brought the country together, because we have writers, artists from different provinces, from different languages. But as I said, that literature and art cross cultural boundaries. And then I felt that we should do this internationally. And it's a very powerful diplomatic tool. And a lot of the diplomatic corps in Pakistan always take part in our festivals, because they invite their speakers to come and talk, and there is so much interest. It is so important that we expose, I think part of promoting culture is also promoting audience development. Because when the audience comes and listens to people with different perspectives, then their, stereotypes are in a way demolished. They begin to look, it creates a new window for them. So I feel that, and I hope that we can also similarly get people from Saudi Arabia, writers, your artists and writers, to Pakistan. And I hope Pakistani artists come here, and it will really bring our countries even closer together.
Great. So, Your Excellency Soljak, let's go to the cultural diplomacy and your role as an ambassador of Pakistan to the Netherlands. What kind of activities you do there, and you see the impact of having these activities?
I think I'll build on what's been said by Ahmed and Amina Sahiba. So when you're trying to connect two different societies and culture, there are obviously certain historical linkages. There's a bit of an exposure, and obviously it varies from one country to another country. But there are always certain ties that you can build on. And I would like to give this example. For example, in Netherlands, not many people know Pakistan in the context of a big civilization, older civilization, or its arts or literature. Whereas it has a very strong tradition around art and design and history. So we tried to introduce many of Pakistan's known artists to the Netherlands by organizing an exhibition. Um, we also did, for example, last year we celebrated 75 years of relations between the Netherlands and Pakistan. And there's a very famous artist, her name is Aisha Khalid. He's one of our foremost contemporary visual artists. And she had done her residency from Netherlands. And ever since she went there, tulip emerged as a flower, emerged as her work. And so we reached out to Aisha to design that stamp. So it's a stamp that connects two countries. Dutch were able to understand Pakistan in a different context. Another example is actually this opened last week. We have a major exhibition in one of the biggest museums of Amsterdam where some of the rare pieces of Indus Valley civilization are being displayed. So I would say it depends on the space, how you want to use as a diplomat, and there are many opportunities to connect the people.
Okay, how can literature and arts help to preserve the cultural diplomacy in the globalization? When we talked about people are afraid to show their culture, to not be mess with others. So how you define this?
So I think globalization is a great strength. For example, my father is a writer, and I had that benefit that he exposed me to literature of different countries. And this was before I can say the age of globalization or that connectivity. And I found the world through lens of literature by reading different translations. For example, I read about Egypt from the lens of Najib Mahfouz. I would not have read about what Egyptian society was without reading the trilogy of Najib Mahfouz, or for that matter, Amin Malouf's novels. And then you go to another region of the world, Latin America. I read translations of Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and I understood how the Latino culture works. So same is the case with Pakistan as well, or other parts of the world. I think we need to have quality translations of good fiction that provides people the opportunity to understand each other in this age of globalization. Same is the case with the culture or the field of arts. And I would give you this example. My first posting was in Jeddah, and I had a great time. It was in 2001 and 4. And some of my favorite architects had designed buildings in Jeddah. So there's a famous architecture from Egypt, Ahmed Abdul Wakil, whose mosque is very famous. So it's like a global symbol. So I think there are many things that you can do regardless of the force of globalization.
Ambassador Ahmed, can you share examples from your career where the culture and literature and art help to resolve some crisis between nations, or something that you try to do?
Well, I think as has been mentioned, culture helps, the awareness of culture of each other helps in improving, understanding amongst the nations. So that actually helps in sort of looking beyond what you generally see or from the media, that what are the commonalities that exist between people. If I were to talk about Pakistan and Saudi Arabia, here we have quite a comfortable situation because mostly we know each other, we share a lot of cultural values, we share the same religion. But at the same time, there is still, as I said earlier also, more can be done. And what the kingdom has, over the last 7 or 8 years, the way it has transformed and the way it has opened up the cultural field in particular, I would say has made things easier for people like me to make use of those opportunities. So in particular, the various, the 12 commissions that have been established under the Ministry of Culture, they give us a lot of opportunity to plan our activities, and like what is happening here, the Literary Commission has opened up this opportunity for us in the Riyadh Book Fair, where we are not only able to read books from different parts of the world, but you have speakers coming from all over the world and who are sharing their experiences. So this previously was not available, and we are making use of that. Then there are other commissions that, for example, particularly the Heritage Commission, that is going into the culture, into the preservation of Saudi heritage. And we are looking at opportunities on how we can partner with them, because Pakistan has one of the oldest civilizations, and we have a lot of experience in the heritage preservation. So we are talking to the Heritage Commission and looking at these opportunities. We are in touch with the Music Commission, and we want to bring contemporary Pakistani music here. And some of it, I think I showed you when we met earlier. People would really enjoy it, and there is little awareness of the creativity that is currently on the music scene in Pakistan. So if we bring everything together, it eventually translates into better understanding amongst people, and that, I think, helps in making the world a better place, a more peaceful place.
Can you share with us any project that you are working on right now between the Pakistani people and Saudi people?
Well, as I mentioned, so for us, one of the top priority is the Heritage Commission. We are working on actually an action plan whereby we can bring experts from various universities and people who have worked in museums for preservation of the artifacts that have been excavated from the various ancient civilizations in Pakistan. So that's one thing. We are working with the Music Commission as well, and we would like to bring some contemporary music groups here for organizing concerts. Then there is a festival that happens here in Abha in January. It's known as the Mountains Festival, where you bring those ethnic groups which have their own dances. So we are working with them to bring some of the various dances, traditional dances, folk dances that date back to centuries to that festival. So again, there is also a lot of opportunity for art. Pakistan is well known for its calligraphy, and calligraphy is something that is very popular here in the kingdom. The kingdom itself is paying a lot of, investing a lot into the art of calligraphy. So we are looking at options on how we can bring in modern Pakistani calligraphers. So this is just some of the ideas that we are currently working on, and you'll be seeing more of it in the coming months.
Very excited to see this project coming on. Mrs. Amina, I think you have a work with the founding the Karchi Literature Festival, right? I want to hear about this more. The Karchi Literature Festival.
Well, actually, I founded the Karachi Literature Festival in 2010. And my idea was that I should create a model for a literature festival that could be taken to scale across Pakistan. And after that, several people, somebody called me from Peshawar, somebody called me from Multan, and they said, please organize the literature festival in our cities. And I said that I have created a model. If you like, I can provide any technical help, but please own it and organize it yourself. And actually, it spread across Pakistan. And I feel that now really, I hope that it can also become international. I had one festival, actually I've had two festivals in London. known as the Pakistan Literature Festival. And I had them in summer. And people told me that, why are you having it in the summer in London? There's so much happening. Who will come to your festival? But it was full. So I was very encouraged. But His Excellency, the Ambassador of Pakistan, has said something very important about the cultural heritage, what we share about ancient sites. You mentioned Mohenjo-daro, because I just saw Al-4, the exhibition here, again about 2,000 years old, that Al-4, and it's a UNESCO heritage site, as is my. So I feel that we have so much in common, because that is also a part of art and architecture and heritage. So we have so much in common with Saudi Arabia. And your writers, they may write in a different language from our language, but the emotions, the struggles are the same. And the human values that are conveyed by your writers, they are universal. Because, love, compassion, resilience, these are universal human values. And that's why I feel that books written by Arab writers will travel very well to Pakistan. And similarly, books written by Pakistani writers. His Excellency Mr. Saljuk, his father is a very great writer of Pakistan, Mr. Mustansar Hussain Tarar. And he writes about the struggles and the emotions that Pakistani feel. But again, they are universal. And his books would travel very well to Saudi Arabia. So I hope that we can work together to promote our writers.
Are you planning for any collaboration between you and the festival that came here? Do you have something in mind?
Sorry, collaboration?
Are you planning for collaboration?
I would love to collaborate. I know that you have so many festivals, 11 different zones and festivals in the winter. And it would be wonderful. And as I think His Excellency said that he is planning to get some Pakistani artists and writers. And I think really that's the best way to bring countries together.
So we need your help here. So, Mr. Soljak, one of the key topics that I want to discuss with you is the role of the United Nations in promoting cultural understanding through the arts. What can you tell us about this?
Ambassador Ahmed is also a great expert of our system on multilateral affairs, and I'm sure he will add his bit. UN is something that does bring us all together, and it has been used for different purposes, whether it's development, peace and security, or human rights. And I think culture and arts and literature is a very interesting forum. For me, it becomes very interesting. Number one, I remember a long time ago, actually, UNESCO had this tradition of translating global literature. I'm not up to speed on that, but I know a number of books were translated in different languages. I know some of the Pakistani books back then were translated. I believe one of our foremost fiction writers, the late Abdullah Hussein's book was translated through one of those projects. So UN or UN's bodies can definitely play a certain role. Again, my focus is on translation. Second, also UN itself is a great place to display your arts and culture. If you go to any of the UN premises, different countries give different gifts. So, for example, in the UN headquarters and even in The Hague, there's a peace palace. And the government of Pakistan in 1950s had given beautiful gifts of miniature paintings by one of our foremost miniature painter named Choktai. So I know, for example, they're very well displayed. So again, going through the UN, you see these things.
Do you want to comment on the UN role?
Yes, United Nations basically represents the entire international community. UNESCO is a specific body within the United Nations that works on culture, on cultural and heritage preservation. So you have the World Heritage Committee, which basically declares different sites as the World Heritage sites. So it is through these bodies, that helps, and the publications that they do on the World Heritage site, those are very important for sort of spreading the heritage of one country to the entire world. So as Ambassador Saljuk mentioned, UN can be a very important forum for the spread of cultural values across the world of different nations. And again, they also do a number of activities that help in the promotion of culture.
And speaking of United Nations, how can people preserve the cultural identity in the face of globalization?
I think that's a very, very important question. Globalization has a lot of benefits. It has made it easier for us to access different cultures, but at the same time, you also see the impact of one culture over the others. And this is, it is a challenge these days on how you preserve your own culture in the face of, onslaught, particularly of Western, popular culture. So that challenge is there, and it is up to, I think, each country to do a better job, which I think the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is doing very ably, that you have to preserve your own culture, and I think through the education system itself, it needs to be strengthened so that people are able to retain their cultural values.
Okay, Mrs. Amina, I want to ask you the same question about the globalization and how can we preserve our culture identity.
Yes, absolutely. Globalization has its pros and cons. And certainly a more powerful culture, in a way, can diminish or take a culture that is not so strong. But I think the way to manage that is by really promoting and defending all cultures. And I think events such as the Riyadh International Book Fair or book festivals or the cultural activities that are going to be taking place here in the winter, I think they play a very important role in promoting all cultures and not just the very powerful, not just the dominant cultures. And I think the way to do that is to encourage the development and the promotion of one's own artists and to engage with them. And also because it's only when you are exposed to new ideas, new perspectives, how people look at things in different ways, that is when you break down stereotypes. And I think it is very important to break down stereotypes, and that happens when you don't hear the voices of that culture. So we need more events like this, and we really need to promote and respect our artists and our writers, give them a place in the sun. We need to appreciate them, acknowledge them, and we need to reward them. I'm very keen that, at least in Pakistan, that our writers should get awards. And these awards should be given publicly, and they should be credible awards. Only then can they have the kind of profile that they deserve.
So as we come to the end of this discussion, you are in the front of young people, young Saudi people. Last message you want to share with them? Last message you want to share with them? Yeah, last message.
No, I think basically I was also young, so it's very difficult to share anything with youngsters because they know much more than we do. We lived through a very interesting inflection point in history where the interface of technology and globalization is a useful force, but is a very challenging force as well. And since we have this topic around culture, I think it's very important to understand one's own identity and maintain it. At times there is a struggle, but that is one's own struggle. I would give a certain example. For example, I write about Pakistani contemporary art and architecture. And I've been writing about contemporary art and architecture for the last 15 years. And when I would read about certain comments about art and architecture from Pakistan, I would see certain different views. And I think there's a story, a bigger story that needs to be told about what's happening in Pakistan. Music was mentioned. The kind of music that is being created in Pakistan is dominating the world, South Asia and the wider world. And so I think for the young people to understand their own identity and able to explain their footings in a very solid manner is very important. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, my message to the young people sitting here is very direct. We want to connect with you. Please follow our social media. And in the future, very near future, you will be seeing a lot of cultural events coming from Pakistan. So we would like you to participate in them.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Well, I want to say that, again, to the young people, that you may feel that there's a cultural divide between different countries. But again, art and literature, music, architecture, they are very strong bridges to cultural divides. And you must build those bridges and cross them. And only then, I think, will you understand different perspectives. And I think it's so important because, that is what critical thinking is about. If you listen to a discussion from different perspectives, every person will have a different take on a certain subject. But if you listen to all of them, and then you process it in your mind, and then you form your own opinion, not received wisdom, but you form your own original opinion. And that is, I think, what critical thinking is about. And I think, again, literature festivals offer a wonderful platform to listen to different voices, to learn about different traditions, different experiences. But they all come within the universal human values. So I would ask the young people to do things that will expose you to different perspectives.
Thank you, our esteemed guest, for this valuable insight and share it with us. Thank you. This is the end of our session. Shukran jazeela.